Hi, my name is Charlotte, and the paper I chose is called Plant Genetic Engineering and Intellectual Property Protection, which explains the various mechanisms of plant protection and patenting. The most important idea I grasped from the article is that conventionally bred, genetically bred, and everything in the middle is able to be patented, and the logistics are so complicated that it's very difficult for farmers to know if they're able to replant seeds after the patent expires. And the paper I thought was most synergistic with mine was called Conventional Modification Trails Conventional Breeding by Far, which is a biased article that opposes genetically engineered crops. The paper portrays conventional breeding as far superior to GM crops, and that patents cannot be obtained for conventional breeding, which from my paper we know is not completely true.
Okay, my name's Rin, and I chose the paper provided by the National Public Radio called In a Grain of Golden Rice, A World of Controversy Over GMO Foods. I think the most important idea that they were trying to present there was that GMOs are being held back by a lot of bias and by a lot of protesting political groups, which isn't necessarily true, but they promoted that idea. And the paper that I thought was most synergetic with that was the one from Business Impact called Why We Need Genetically Modified Foods. And they also were kind of promoting the use of genetically modified foods because obviously our population is going to go up, and then also our food intake will. So both were promoting the conviction that we should use genetically modified foods.
My name is Wolfgang, and the paper I chose was Why We Need Genetically Modified Organisms. And the most important idea I got from that article was that that even though there is a global resistance to using genetically modified organisms, we need to continue to use them more as climate changes and our overall soil quality deteriorates. And an article that I thought was synergistic to this was genetically modified golden rice falls short on life-saving promises at by Washington University. And it talked about how golden rice, a genetically modified food, is not yet feeding people because in developing countries because of public resistance to genetically modified organisms and questions about the crop itself.
Hi, my name is Stannis, and the paper I chose was titled Genetic Modification Trails Conventional Breeding by Far, which was from Science and Society. It was a biased article that talked about the differences in conventional breeding and GM crops. The most important concept I took from this article was the difference was when it talked about patenting of GM crops and how conventionally bred crops would genetically engineer their product, even if it was just one allele, in order to obtain a patent for intellectual property, because they couldn't patent their crops without this GM product, and that patents were important for controlling the seeds sold to farmers. And the title of the synergistic paper that I found was, that from another student, was Plants, Genetic Engineering and Intellectual Property Protection. This article talks about the history and specifics of plant patents. This article was synergistic because it talked about the concept of using a patent to control resale, use, and requires licenses by buyers. So it gives the seller a lot of rights to the seed.